You're watching the CBX, the Caribbean's Business Exchange. Your region, your business, your source.
The time by Carrie Chris is 6 p.m. Time for CBX Business News. The Business News headlines is brought to you by CBX Wealth Management, making more possible. Trade reform momentum, Caribbean demands for justice, and shifting investment flows in the global economy. Hello and welcome to CBX Business News for Friday, June 20, 2025. I'm Neil Wood. Thanks for joining us. Coming up locally, Jamaica's Business Ministry launches program to advance trade reform and boost competitiveness. On the regional front, incoming OECS chair renews call for Trinidad to settle a US $64 million CLICO claim while blasting its control of OECS airspace. And over on the global stage, China's foreign direct investment falls 13.2%, even as high-tech and ASEAN inflows show strength. Stay tuned as we unpack these stories right after this break.
Wealth is not simply counted in dollars or cents, but in the time we spend with love, in love, giving love. Wealth is not simply a means to an end. It is the means to live out loud. Wealth is more than money. It's about family, the memories you create, the legacy you leave behind, and your ability to enjoy life in the moment. It's also about seeing the QMAX possibilities and seizing investment opportunities to achieve the future you want and deserve. Which is why QMAX Wealth will focus on your investments so you can experience more. Because true wealth is truly more. To start investing today, call 876-926-7767.
The local news is brought to you by Diamond Trading, better from the start. Development Bank of Jamaica, facilitating economic growth and development. Caribbean flavors and fragrances, tease the senses, and Pulse Investments. Welcome back to CBX Business News. We begin with a major trade and investment development locally. The Ministry of Industry, Investment and Commerce, MIIC, has launched the United Nations Conference on Trade and Development, UNCTAD Accelerate Trade Facilitation Program, marking a key step in Jamaica's ongoing efforts to streamline trade processes and strengthen the national trade environment. The launch event took place on Thursday at the Jamaica Pegasus Hotel in New Kingston, drawing together crucial stakeholders from government ministries, trade and customs agencies, private sector organizations, and international development partners. The program is designed to support the country's ambitions to simplify and modernize trade procedures, reduce trade costs, and enhance the efficiency of cross-border transactions. Delivering the main address at the hybrid launch, Permanent Secretary in the Ministry, Sancia Bennett-Templer, welcomed the initiative as a timely and vital intervention in Jamaica's ongoing trade reform efforts. Mrs. Bennett-Templer also revealed that close to 100 public and private sector companies have committed to participating in the training component of the program, which is set to begin on Wednesday, July 2. The training, which will be delivered by UNCTAD, is part of a comprehensive empowerment effort under the Accelerate program. It will cover 10 core modules over a 6-month period aimed at building capacity and driving long-term improvements in trade facilitation across Jamaica. The Caribbean Climate Innovation Center, CCIC, is making its final call for applications to the Scale It Up Accelerator, an 8-week intensive program created to help Jamaican climate entrepreneurs scale their businesses. The initiative supports the growth of climate-smart enterprises that promote innovation, generate employment, and advance the green economy. The Scale It Up Accelerator is the latest initiative of CCIC, the first clean tech incubator in Jamaica and the Caribbean, established in 2014 and serving entrepreneurs across 15 CARICOM countries. The program is being spearheaded in partnership with the Scientific Research Council, SRC, and is supported by key national stakeholders, including the Development Bank of Jamaica, DBJ. Designed for entrepreneurs who are ready to grow, the Scale It Up Accelerator focuses on providing high-impact founders with hands-on support tailored to help them thrive in Jamaica's rapidly evolving clean tech space. The initiative will train up to 18 high-potential entrepreneurs, culminating in a demo day scheduled for September 19, where participants will pitch to investors, including the opportunity for one entrepreneur to travel to a European innovation hub to explore global connections. CEO of the CCIC, Carlington Burrell, says they are investing in entrepreneurs and are cultivating the future drivers of the Jamaican economy. Through this accelerator, CCIC will empower growth stage businesses to secure investment, scale sustainably, and create meaningful jobs across industries, he added. Applications close on June 30, and the program officially launches in July. In all the news, the Bank of Jamaica BOJ has reported that net remittances climbed by 2.1% to US $238 million in February of this year, when compared with the same month last year. BOJ says this was primarily due to an increase of US $5.8 million in inflows and US $1 million, or 4.9% increase in outflows. There was also a US $9.3 million uptick in net remittance inflows to US $2.9 billion during the fiscal year to date, March of 2024 to February of 2025. This was due to a US $6.7 million increase in inflows and a 1.3% or $2.8 million dip in outflows. In the meantime, BOJ has disclosed that remittance inflows climbed by 3.1% to US $515 million for January and February when compared with the same period last year. This compares with growth of 15, 8.2, and 0.6% recorded for El Salvador, Guatemala, and Mexico, respectively. The central bank says 72% of this amount came from the USA, nearly 12% from the United Kingdom, 8% from Canada, and 7% from the Cayman Islands. And still with BOJ, but this time foreign currency trading news. At the end of Friday's currency trading, the US dollar is selling for $160.93, the Canadian for $117.96, and the pound for $216.32. The going rate for the euro is $185.15. And from foreign currency trading, we go to trading news on the Jamaica Stock Exchange. 101 stocks traded on the JSE Friday, of which 47 advanced, 37 declined, and 17 traded firm. Leading the winners were Elite Diagnostic, Sagicor Real Estate X Fund, Cygnus Real Estate Financial Jamaican Dollar, and Berger Paints Jamaica, while the losers were led by Cygnus Credit Investments US Dollar Ordinary Shares, Proven Group US Dollar, Epley Caribbean Property Fund SCC, and MFS Capital Partners. Now the main index advanced by 1,170.81 points or 0.38% to close at 311,290.55. The junior market index also advanced but by 33.65 or 1.01% to close at 3,370.20. And it's time for Market Education Feature, brought to you by CARICRIS, Regional Ratings, Global Standard. In today's Market Education Feature, we'll be explaining what the World Intellectual Property Organization, or WIPO, is. The World Intellectual Property Organization, WIPO, is a specialized agency of the United Nations established in 1967 with a mission to promote the protection of intellectual property, IP, and foster creativity on a global scale. It serves as an international platform for IP-related policy making, services, information exchange, and cooperation. Though officially founded in 1967, the organization dates back to 1883, when 14 countries around the globe signed the Paris Convention for the Protection of Industrial Property, which in turn created intellectual property protections for inventions, trademarks, and industrial designs. The convention helped inventors gain protection for their work outside of their native countries. The Market Education Feature was brought to you by CARICRIS, Regional Ratings, Global Standards. And that's it for Market Education Feature and the end of the local segment. Please stay with us. Up next is our regional business news. The local news is brought to you by Derriman Trading, better from the start. Development Bank of Jamaica, facilitating economic growth and development. Caribbean Flavors and Fragrances, tease the senses. And Pulse Investments.
Caribbean Flavors and Fragrances Limited has been a part of Jamaica's manufacturing landscape for over 20 years. By crafting unique flavors and fragrances, we have become a part of your favorite household and food items such as beverages, ice cream, household cleaners, and much more. Known throughout the Caribbean for the highest quality, we continue to innovate with strong leadership, a dedicated team with integrity. We go the extra mile for our customers. Create the next taste sensation. Contact us at 876-9235-111 or visit our website, Facebook, Instagram, or LinkedIn pages.
Regional business news. Prime Minister of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, Dr. Ralph Gonsalves, is renewing pressure on the government of Trinidad and Tobago to honor its long-standing financial commitment to Eastern Caribbean states stemming from the collapse of the Clico financial empire. Speaking on the matter during the opening ceremony of the 77th meeting of the OECS Authority this week, Gonsalves reminded regional stakeholders that of the US $100 million settlement promised by the former Kamla Prasad Bissessa administration, only US $36 million has been disbursed to OECS countries.
Collapse of the Clico financial empire has left holders in the OECS encumbered with hundreds of millions of dollars of losses. There is still outstanding $64 million of the 100 million US dollars, which the last UNC administration under Prime Minister Kamla Prasad Bissessa had negotiated as a partial settlement with OECS countries.
Gonzalez also used the occasion to highlight concerns over Trinidad and Tobago's continued regulatory control of the Eastern Caribbean's space.
Trinidad and Tobago's continued control of our OECS airspace for its near-exclusive material benefit through its control of the relevant oversight authority remains a contentious issue which demands urgent resolution.
Incoming OECS Chair and Prime Minister of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, Dr. Ralph Gonzalez. The Bahamas has reached a significant financial milestone by lowering its borrowing costs by a remarkable 525 basis points through a landmark US $1.067 billion bond issuance. Wrapping up the 2025-2026 budget debate in the House of Assembly on Thursday, Prime Minister Philip Davis revealed that the new 11-year US dollar denominated bond carries a final yield of 8.25%. This pricing has substantially reduced the country's cost of borrowing and strengthened the consolidation of its international yield curve.
This transaction had a final yield of 8.25%, which further consolidates the favorable repricing of the Bahamas' international yield curve. We look at what our bonds were trading at. If we were to look at our bonds, what they were trading at before going to market this year, it was 8.79%. But once we went to the market, our final rate was 54 basis points lower at 8.25%. If we look at the effective interest rate charged on the last note offering, it was 13.5%. The repricing is 8.25%, which was 525 basis points lower.
That was Prime Minister of the Bahamas, Philip Davis. In other news, the Trinidad and Tobago government tabled a Trinidad and Tobago $3.14 billion supplemental budget in Parliament on Wednesday, aiming to resuscitate an economy described as dire after years of neglect by the previous People's National Movement (PNM) administration. Finance Minister Devendranath Thakur painted a stark picture of economic decline, revealing that the majority of the middle class has been pushed into poverty. Over 60,000 businesses have been struck off the register, while an additional 6,000 mainly micro and small enterprises were forced to shut down, severely damaging the domestic investment landscape. The mid-year budget review seeks Parliament's approval to amend the Appropriation Act 2025 as the government requires supplementary funding for what they say was the intentional under-budgeting by the former administration.
The reason we are here today, Mr. Speaker, is to seek a supplementary appropriation of $3.14 billion. And the reason for that is simple. We are forced to supplement a PNM budget. This is not our shortfall. This is the latest chapter in the PNM's long history of serial under-budgeting. Today, the government is compelled to seek an additional $3,143,983,761 in supplementary funding, not because of unforeseen crises, but because the former government intentionally under-budgeted for critical expenditure, knowing fully well that the bills will come due.
Trinidad and Tobago's Finance Minister, Devendranath Thakur. And like yesterday, there was no trading on the TTSE today as the country observes their Labor Day. Trading is scheduled to resume on Monday, June 23. And that's it for regional business news. We take a short break, but please stay with us. The international news segment with Rondine Williams is up next.
Welcome back to CBX Business News. In international news, foreign direct investment FDI into China dropped 13.2% year-on-year in the first 5 months of 2025, totaling 358.19 billion yuan, which is approximately 49.88 billion USD dollars, according to official data. The decline reflects ongoing global economic uncertainties and shifting investor sentiments. Despite the overall downturn, certain sectors and regions showed resilience. The manufacturing sector attracted 91.52 billion yuan in foreign capital, while the services sector remained dominant with 259.64 billion yuan in inflows. High-tech industries continue to draw strong interest, accounting for 109.04 billion yuan in actual FDI. Within this sector, several areas posted impressive growth. E-commerce services surged 146%, aerospace and equipment manufacturing rose by 74.9%, chemical pharmaceutical manufacturing increased by 59.2%, and medical equipment and device manufacturing grew by 20%. Regionally, FDI from ASEAN countries climbed 20.5%, underscoring deepening economic ties. Inflows from Japan, the United Kingdom, South Korea, and Germany also rose by 70.2%, 60.9%, 10.3%, and 7.1%, respectively, highlighting continued interest from key global partners despite broader headwinds. And turning to the retail sector, where one major U.S. grocery chain is outperforming expectations even as broader economic concerns persist. Kroger Company has raised its full-year sales forecast, signaling resilience in consumer demand even as economic uncertainties loom. The supermarket chain now expects identical sales growth excluding fuel to range between 2.25% and 3.25%, up from its earlier projection of 2% to 3%. The company also reaffirmed its full-year profit outlook, citing stronger performance in its pharmacy, fresh food, and digital segments. In its first quarter earnings report, Kroger posted a 3.2% increase in identical sales, excluding fuel, operating profit of $1.32 billion, adjusted earnings per share EPS of $1.49, up from $1.43 in the same period last year. CEO Ron Sargent emphasized Kroger's commitment to delivering value through operational efficiency and customer-focused innovation. He says the company remains confident in their ability to navigate the current environment and continue to grow. The update comes as retailers across the U.S. face mixed consumer sentiments and inflationary pressures, making Kroger a steady performance and notable outlier in the sector. Meanwhile, technology continues to dominate equity markets in 2025, with artificial intelligence emerging as a key growth driver. Artificial intelligence has become the defining force in global equity markets this year, with top AI companies delivering outsized returns and shaping investor portfolios across the US, Canada, and the Asian Pacific exchanges. According to recent data, AI-related stocks have outperformed the broader market by a wide margin, posting average returns of 68.5%, nearly 3 times the S&P 5,000 performance. The global AI market is now valued at $638.2 billion, with projections pointing to a staggering $3.68 trillion by 2034. NVIDIA remains the undisputed leader with a market cap of $2.89 trillion and Q1 2025 revenue of $44.1 billion, of which $39.1 billion came from its booming data center segment. Quantum Computing Incorporated emerged as the year's top performer, boasting a 2,108.76% return over the past 12 months, driven by breakthroughs in quantum-enhanced AI applications. OpenAI, while not publicly traded, has continued to influence the sector through licensing deals and partnerships, particularly with Microsoft and enterprise clients. Alphabet and Meta platforms have also seen strong gains fueled by AI integration into search, advertising, and social media platforms. AI stocks are not just a US phenomenon. Canadian and Australian exchanges have seen rising interest in AI firms, particularly in sectors like healthcare, logistics, and cybersecurity. The Toronto Stock Exchange TSX and Australian Securities Exchange ASX now lists several high-growth AI startups that are attracting global capital. Venture capital investment in AI reached $73.1 billion in early 2025, accounting for nearly 58% of all global VC activity. However, the sector remains volatile with top AI stocks exhibiting beta values between 1.6 and 2.2, nearly double the S&P 500's risk profile. Finally, in commodities, geopolitical tensions and market rebalances are weighing on safe haven assets. Gold prices dropped to around $3,350 per ounce on Friday, marking a one-week low and heading for the first weekly decline in 3 weeks. The sell-off came as investors liquidated gold holdings to cover losses in other markets amid intensifying tensions in the Middle East. The conflict between Israel and Iran escalated, with Israel ramping up strikes on strategic and government sites in Tehran following reports of an Iranian missile hitting a major Israeli hospital. Meanwhile, attentions turned to Washington, where President Donald Trump is reportedly considering direct military action against Iran, with a decision expected within 2 weeks. On the economic front, the Federal Reserve kept interest rates unchanged earlier this week, but signaled 2 potential rate cuts by the end of the year. However, Fed Chair Jerome Powell cautioned that ongoing tariffs could continue to fuel inflation. The Fed's update projections indicate slower growth, higher inflation, and weaker employment in 2025. Persistent inflation may limit the Fed's ability to ease policy, which could weigh on demand for non-yielding assets like gold. And that's it for the international segment of the newscast. But please, do stay with us. The news recap is coming up on the other side of the break.
Okay, I just sent the money. I'll WhatsApp you the tracking number.
Thanks, Daddy. I can't wait to buy that PS5.
Listen to me. Your birthday money is not just for spending. Remember what I told your mom? Remember to open the bank account immediately after collecting the money. Your mom has her ID, TRN, proof of address, proof of income, and your school ID.
I'm not an adult yet, so Mommy will have to open the account with me.
Yes. Anyways, I'm headed back to work, so call me later. I love you guys.
This financial literacy tip is brought to you by Bank of Jamaica, promoting financial inclusion. For more information, visit our BOJ Real Talk playlist on our YouTube channel.
Welcome back, and now for a recap of our top stories. In the local news, Business Ministry launches program to advance trade reform. Regionally, incoming OECS chair renews call for Trinidad to settle a US $64 million CLICO claim and blasts its control of OECS airspace. And on the international scene, China's foreign direct investment falls 13.2%. Those were the stories making today's CBX Evening News. On behalf of Rondine Williams and the entire production team, I'm Yunil Wood, thanking you for watching CBX, wishing you a wonderful weekend, and continue to watch your region, your business, your source.
Hi, I'm Haley Grant. You're watching CBX, your region, your business, your source.